You're listening to Big World Network.
Accidental Passion, Episode 9, Giving Chase, read by Meagan Hedin. Warning! Although there is no material subject matter within that couldn't be found in any general bookstore with no age constraint, this series is rated 18 and contains adult situations and content. It is intended for mature audiences only and should not be read if you are uncomfortable with graphic sexual intimacy. There are some moments in life, Kim reflected, that are filled with such extreme reality they actually seem off from where they should be. That somehow, given the circumstances, things should be more surreal than they were. She knew it was a strange thing to think about as the golf cart raced down the side streets of Ambergris Cay, Ryan at the wheel and Rick sitting beside her with the knife pushing into her side in the back seat. She just hadn't expected the everyday normalcy of the moment to be so noticeable. Not that she had really ever thought about being in a situation where she would be fighting for her life, but it was strange that things weren't different. The rushing ground under the silent power of the golf cart, the sound of the rubber tires crunching over the hard-packed dirt and gravel, the shadows of the dark night, the smell of the sea air, the lights on the windows of the village homes. It was all like any other evening. The palm trees were still the same trees they had been before, swaying in the breeze. And that is what struck her as odd. Life was still exactly how it was, despite the potential ending of her life if the situation turned for the worst. On several occasions, another cart passed them and waved, noticing nothing abnormal in the evening darkness. Kim wanted to call out for help, but each time she felt the tip of the knife push against her side in warning. And so they continued on silently. They were only about a quarter-mile from the airstrip now where Chaz would be waiting for them by the turboprop to take them to the mainland. But he wouldn't be expecting Rick with them, which suddenly caused Kim a pang of guilt. Once again, it was her poor judgment of character and decision to have an affair with Rick that was endangering someone else's life. Ryan, driving the cart, made a turn to the left, taking them down yet another street devoid of any streetlights, but with plenty of rental cabins and homes lit up. As they completed the turn and sped up the street, the headlights from another cart came into view turning off the small road leading to the airstrip. The gas-powered cart, as evident from its noisier engine, approached from the opposite direction, and Kim looked beyond the headlights of the cart at the driver. Maybe it was her imagination, but when the cart was directly beside them, she made eye contact with the driver, and an immediate spark of recognition hit her. Was that Woods? Before she could be sure, the cart had moved past them. But apparently, Rick had the same sense of recognition, because he turned around, still keeping the knife to Kim's side, and glanced back at the cart. By this time, the cart had veered far to its left in the dirt road, and then made a hard right, swinging into a U-turn and reversing direction behind them. Wood saw the approaching cart, not giving it much attention since he assumed it was just another group heading home from the night of drinking at one of the many bars on the island. However, as he got closer to passing it in the opposite direction, he was able to make out 3 adults on the golf cart, and just as their headlights moved past him, he found himself looking directly into Kim's eyes. Unbelievable luck. He now knew he was too late to warn them, since Rick was sitting tightly next to Kim. Swerving to his left and then yanking the wheel on his gas-powered gator cart, Woods made a U-turn and pushed the small pedal all the way to the floor in an attempt to catch up with the other cart. Partly because of the 3 adults weighing it down, and partly because he was in a much more powerful cart, he was able to catch them as they sped down the back road to the landing strip. He wasn't sure what he would do, or if Rick had any weapons. He had to assume that he did, or Ryan and Kim would not be with him of their own free will. In his years on the LAPD and as a private investigator, Woods had found himself on several occasions pursuing another car, but this was the first time he had ever found himself in a cart chase. It would have been more amusing to him, but now his concern was with his friend and Kim. He couldn't allow Rick to leave with them aboard one of the turboprop aircraft, or there would be very little chance of his being able to offer any help. As he approached the backside of the cart, he could make out Rick looking over his shoulder at him. With his body twisted looking back at Woods, Rick watched as Kim suddenly turned towards him, bringing up her leg and using her arm in unison to push Rick off the open cart. He knew immediately that it wouldn't be enough to dislodge him, but at that moment Ryan swerved. It was unclear to Woods if Ryan had swerved to dodge one of the many potholes in the dirt road leading to the landing strip, or if it had been an intentional move to dislodge Rick. Regardless of the reason, the swerve was enough to throw Rick off balance, and he started to fall backwards off the seat, reaching out to grab a hold of anything he could get his hands on. All of this was taking place in mere seconds, and before Woods could react, Woods tumbled on his back and rolled directly in front of his larger gas-powered gator cart. Unable to swerve, the larger wheels on one side easily rode directly over top of Rick, followed by the rear side wheel, the bumps almost throwing Woods out of his own seat. Glancing back, he saw Rick continue to roll in the dirt before coming to a stop. Just as Rick was about to disappear in the darkness behind them, Woods saw that he was still moving. Woods doubted, even though Rick was obviously still alive, that he would be in any condition to pursue them. Nevertheless, he yelled across to Ryan, "Keep moving!" 2 minutes later, the two carts pulled into the short driveway to the landing strip. They made a direct line to the waiting aircraft and Chaz, who was standing beside the nose of the airplane. As they climbed out of the carts, Chaz asked, "No bags?" "Long story," Ryan replied, taking Kim's hand and looking over to Woods. "Good timing, my friend." "You can thank Kim for her quick actions," Woods answered. Kim was still visibly shaken, and as Ryan helped steady her, she replied, "It looked like you drove right over him. I thought you were going to get thrown from your cart." Then, after a pause, "You don't think it killed him, do you? Should we just leave him?" "What are you talking about?" Chaz asked, opening up the entry door and lowering the fold-down stairs to the cabin. "Did that man find you?" "Yes, we need to leave, now," Ryan said. "We can't take any chances, Kim. We need to get you to safety, back to the mainland and my jet." 10 minutes later, the ground was falling away from them as the aircraft climbed into the night sky towards the mainland airport.
This has been a presentation of Big World Network. Visit us on bigworldnetwork.com for more free weekly series, or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to Big World Network.